Greetings and salutations. A very happy new year to you. Welcome to the Ghost Star N.E.A.R show, where we discuss and actively explore paranormal phenomena. I am your host, Keith Johnson, the founder of New England Anomalies Research, along with my dear wife, Sandra, who is in the control booth this evening. So she's working behind the scenes. Yeah. But I want to welcome you all here, and studio audience, thank you for being here. And we have some fabulous guests, some old friends many of you are familiar with. We have Ken DeCosta, the founder of Rise Up Paranormal, and Cody Ray DesBiens, or DesBiens if you want to be correct, and also a member of Rise Up Paranormal. And both of you also are members of the Atlantic Paranormal Society's home team.
That's correct.
A lot of people don't realize that they do have a home team, but
they certainly do.
Glad to have you.
It's a pleasure to be back. Thank you for having us.
Glad to have you here, Cody.
Pleasure.
And I must say, these are wonderful, wonderful people just to know personally. I'm very honored to call them friends, and very, very active in the investigation department. So how long have you had your Rise Up Paranormal group there, Ken?
It's funny because actually we're going to be celebrating our 10th anniversary next month.
Great.
Congratulations. Been together. Thank you very much. When we got this off the ground in 2007, we didn't know where the path was going to lead and everything like that, but here we are 10 years later, and we've made some additions to the group, and I'm happy to say that in a day where people kind of come and go, we've sort of managed to maintain the core people that have been part of this, which is great because we've established relationships with each other, and when we go through the investigation process, it's a lot of it's unspoken at this point. We all kind of adopt the same mentality.
Yes.
So it's been great, and we've been able to develop personal relationships with each other too.
Great, when you're like-minded like that. Now, what you said is a lot of groups come and go, which is absolutely true.
Sure.
There are many, many paranormal groups. They're always starting, but a lot of them do not have the staying power. So it's good to see people that do have the staying power to actually stay with it, because it's not all fun and games. It's interesting and it can be fascinating, but it can also be quite tedious, and there's the boring part of waiting for something to happen, and then you have to go over your evidence and everything like that, evidence review. And a lot of people that are just familiar with the TV shows aren't really familiar with just what goes into this, the amount of time and effort and patience that goes into it.
That's the thing, and a lot of people get exposed to this type of thing and they're curious, and we understand that. But a lot of people, after a while, maybe it doesn't meet their expectations, where there's something behind every door, and in reality,
like the fun house.
It's not like that, and you have to be very critical and objective.
Yes.
And this is, kind of the way I've always been wired, where I want to come up with rational explanations if we can. So, you get people who want to embrace that same methodology, and then we bring in, people like Cody.
Yeah, the new generation,
because he kind of embodies that too, for a new generation investigator. Like now, there's a lot of people that have kind of been brought up on TV. So I think that everything becomes about Facebook Live videos and YouTube videos, and that's the template. But there's absolutely, as we know, much more to it than that, especially when you're in a private setting where you can't talk about those things, and it's not for public consumption.
Yes,
and that's how you build your resume. So we're very glad to bring Cody in about 3 years ago now.
Great.
Because he sort of embraces that type of objective thinking, and it's refreshing. It's good to see it in a younger person.
Yes, and Cody, what first sparked your interest of working with the paranormal and investigating?
Well, like most people that have gotten into this field, I had an experience when I was younger. To make a long story short, when I was around 8 or 9 years old, I had woken up in the middle of the night and in my bed, and I had seen a bunch of men standing around my bed wearing tribal attire, and some of them, excuse me, were holding up masks to their face. And not only was I very curious as to why I was seeing this, because these men weren't supposed to be in my home,
Right.
and I could partially see through them. So ever since that day, I started doing research on what I had seen. And looking back on it now, there could be normal explanations to what I had seen. I'm not convinced that this was a truly paranormal experience, because there is many normal explanations that it could have been. For example, lucid dreaming. But whether it was a normal experience or a paranormal experience, it absolutely knocked down that door, allowing me to step through and really hold on to it. And I've really been interested ever since, and just kept getting more interested and more involved, to the point where you know, it's pretty much a daily thing. There's not a day that goes by when I'm not thinking about this stuff.
Oh, great, wonderful. And Ken, we know you go way back with this. Your original experiences?
The first I ever had probably was when I was about 13 years old, and I had waved and made eye contact with an uncle of mine who was driving past my house.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just out in the front yard going about my business after school. And again, to make a long story short, my parents eventually came home a little bit later, came outside and told me my uncle had passed that morning.
Wow.
And this was back in the time where you probably didn't question it. You didn't go to mom and dad, but I saw somebody go by. So that's something I sort of kept in my back pocket for years and years and years. And eventually, you know, 30 years later, 40 years later, you know, I eventually told my wife that story. Mm-hmm. But it's, that was my first exposure to the idea that there's something a little different out here.
Yes.
And it was frightening.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it wasn't a case where, like, now you're like, oh, I had a wonderful experience. It was anything but wonderful. I spent the next couple of weeks just kind of looking over my shoulder saying, gee, coming back? Or,
Well, with so many of us, we don't start out by trying to find it. It finds us.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And we are introduced to it in that way, and that later sparks our interest.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that's important when you understand when people invite you into their homes that are credible. Mm-hmm. These people aren't there looking for ghosts and ghost hunting. You know, they're going about their everyday business, and suddenly something amazing, something remarkable happens to them that can be a little unnerving and a little bit frightening.
Right.
And we try to put ourselves in the same sort of conditions that way they were when they were seeing it, because they're certainly not looking for it very much the same as he and I, and I'm sure yourself, when we were younger and had our own experiences. We weren't sitting there saying, gee, I wish something would happen.
Yes, right.
You know?
Exactly. Now, I have a quote from you, Ken, and I'm going to read that quote. And sometimes when you get to the truth, people get upset because they really wanted the ghost.
Right.
Now, do you mind explaining that to our audience?
Yeah, I think where it stems from in the modern day is that television. Of course, we all know that the positive of it is they brought this into our homes, and people were less reticent to talk about it. They lost that stigma of it, which was good, because it allowed people like us a little more access to talk to these people and visit these locations. But I think the yang to that yin is that it creates unrealistic expectations in their mind, where people see something and they identify with it.
Yes.
And they say, well, gee, that looks familiar. I have that noise. I'm having that experience. I probably have a ghost in my house too. So if you couple that with the idea that people really want to believe in this, you know, to validate their own belief systems, and they strongly want it to be, oftentimes when people like us go into a residence or any building really, and we can figure things out, it's not always met with relief. You know, when you're going into a family environment, you would think, if I was able to walk away and say, I don't really believe you have anything to worry about, that's probably the best possible outcome.
Yeah.
But sometimes people just, well, I'm not crazy, and
Right,
and
yeah.
So we do try to explain to them that I certainly can't put my 6 or 7 hours in your home up to the 30 that you've lived there. I don't expect to say, okay, let the games begin, let's
Right.
happen. I want everything to happen to me.
Yeah.
So it doesn't happen that way. But this is why we try to remain as objective as possible, and in the end, just tell somebody the truth of what we found, whatever our conclusion is, and hopefully we'll be able to continue that, to do an actual case study rather than to just walk in for a few hours.
Right. Now, the Atlantic Paranormal Society's home team. Most people, I think, are familiar with the TV show that had a very long run. It was very popular, Ghost Hunters. And of course, the featured organization on that was TAPS, the Atlantic Paranormal Society, founded by Jason Hawes, co-founded by Grant Wilson.
Right.
And they're very familiar to seeing these episodes where the group is called into a place, or they are exploring a historic place, and they go in, set up their equipment, and wait for something to happen, do all the, all the setup and everything like that. And then it's a waiting game, and sometimes you get activity. But the home team, now the home team, could you explain to us why there is a home team as opposed to the TV show?
The home team is TAPS. It's founded on the building blocks that Jay created this team for. And basically, the home team stays back in New England to follow the mission of TAPS. And pretty much every week we go into usually somebody's home. Just like in the beginning days of the first seasons of Ghost Hunters, really revolved around clients' homes and stuff.
Yes.
So the home team is basically stuck to the core values of TAPS. And while the show was, filming for production, the home team was still following up with cases in the New England area.
Right.
And then the rest of the United States and internationally is where the TAPS family falls into place.
Literally thousands, especially at the peak of popularity of the show.
Right.
Somebody had to handle these things.
Right. And of course, my brother and Sandra and I were members of TAPS for quite a few years.
Yep.
And we did see, of course, going out to home cases. Most of the time we went to home cases because we were called in on them. But when the TV show started, things just mushroomed so much. I mean, we the old days, and I'd get the call, dude, guess what? We've got a case this weekend, but we were usually out every weekend helping somebody.
And that's the thing, when you're talking generationally now, with the template being TV, where everything has to be on YouTube and the internet, and everything has to be filmed. But yet there's another part of this that is not for public consumption.
Yes. Yeah.
So you have to be, in order to really be immersed in this thing, you have to be willing to do it in obscurity.
Yes.
You have to be willing to take on certain things that you'll never be able to talk about. And do that, as well as putting yourself out for the world to see. Those are the cases that are more important, the ones that aren't for public consumption.
Yeah.
And the ones where you're just going to be working anonymously doing it.
And that's, of course, what Sandra and I did when we formed New England Anomalies Research, so we could concentrate on the home cases. And of course, we do deal with kind of like the inhuman type of spirit sometimes, and most of these people do want to remain anonymous, because it's
multitude of reasons.
Yeah, I remember there was a friend of mine, a colleague of mine. He went to a case one night, and it turned out to be a birthday party That they were the entertainment,
Really?
but they didn't know it. They were called in as the entertainment. They thought it was a serious case. We want to see what an
Oh
investigation's
yeah,
all
we've been
about.
guilty of that too. Where you walk in and they have like a spread on the table, and isn't this nice for these people to feed us? And then you turn the corner and
The whole family's there.
the whole family's there, just like looking at you. It's like,
So
I don't
make
know.
something happen.
Oh, yeah.
I dance. I don't know what to do here. But yeah, But again, it's
We
the
do have some actors in the audience.
Yes, it's the yin and yang of television.
Yeah, right,
What they bring,
exactly.
it's the positive and the negative with it as well.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you, with TAPS, a lot of times
Oh, yeah.
somebody will call Tracy Boisel, who's the case manager, and she'll do an interview, and we'll take the
Right.
case, and
Yeah.
we'll gather up when we'll go. And open the front door, and the first thing they where's Jason? Where's
Absolutely.
Grant?
Oh, yeah,
where's-
yeah.
Where's Steve?
Right.
Yeah.
Where's Tango? And it's like, no, just us. Sorry.
Well, I look different on TV. It's just,
Yeah,
right,
exactly.
Yeah.
But, talk a little bit about the equipment that you use. Of course, you see all this equipment on the TV shows and
Right.
everything, and I always make a point of this, that if you really want to be a serious investigator, you don't have to break the bank.
No.
To go out and experience and record. And most of the time, this equipment that we use is not to experience, but to document the experiences.
Absolutely.
I think there's an evolution
Yeah.
of that because, we all go out and, again, without breaking the bank, we buy things, we
Yeah,
try
right.
things. And then I think the thing is education more than anything, because as you start to understand what these things do, why they were designed, how they were put together and designed, and what the function is, then pretty soon you can also eliminate the false uses for those, as well as use them to, augment a regular investigation.
Right. Unfortunately, there's a big misconception, especially with new people coming into this field, that they watch the shows, they see the equipment, they go on certain websites that sell the equipment, and they believe they are buying a piece of equipment that's basically a ghost hunter,
Oh, yeah.
a ghost
Right.
detector, when all reality, this equipment is just monitoring the environment.
Right.
And that's what we're doing. We're not
Yeah.
hunting down for ghosts. We're observing the environment around us and looking for changes in the environment. So the first thing that all people should do when they go to buy this equipment is to learn how it works, what it actually does. Because if you take the time to do that, then you may realize that you've been wasting your money on something that doesn't really work.
I think the important thing is, get off the paranormal websites. If you buy a camera, go to, I don't want a product placement here, but Nikon, Kodak, find out how these things work. Talk to a professional photographer. What are camera artifacts? What do they do? What they can't do? EMFs are a big thing now with the meters. Do they affect us? I don't know. Go to the World Health Organization website where they do something called the EMF Project, and they have scientifically compiled data that will give you the answer. But don't rely on packaging and what things could do, because I think in this field sometimes there's a certain guilt of looking for instant gratification.
Yeah,
we want that light to come on.
Right,
We want
right.
the machine to go beep and ping. And it's all well and good. I tell everybody when we do public events, if you want to bring a voice box in, and that's fine. But we stop short of that stuff because we would have a really hard time in a private setting, in a residence, basing a conclusion on something that came out of a radio.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Or just
Right,
because
exactly.
a light went off. I don't think that that's really helping anything. I certainly wouldn't put stock in that if there's children
Too many
involved and
variables.
they're
Yeah.
and they're frightened. I'm just letting
Yeah,
you say,
right.
oh yes, you have His Satanic Majesty is here because my light went off. So I
Right.
think
Yeah.
we got to kind of learn and evolve and back off that a little bit.
Yes, exactly. Very, very well said, too. Very well said. And I must say, among all the groups, and I'm talking about in general, in the entire country, and individuals too, I would say you are among the most professional that there is out there. I mean, I really...
Tremendous praise
Thank you.
coming from you. Thank you.
I mean, I've been in the I don't want to say business, but I've been in the field for quite a while, and really, I'm always impressed by you two.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's
Thank
like
you.
the thing I take great pride in. If I pat myself and my son David on the back for anything, and we don't really waste a lot of time doing that, but it's that we've managed to bring in really good people. You know, because you're only as good as the people
Yes.
who go out
Right.
into the field.
Yeah.
And are able to do this. So I appreciate that very, very much.
You also are very good with home clients and in calming them and explaining what they can expect and what they may be experiencing. You have a very, very calming
Experience, you know what I'm talking about. Eventually, in talking to people and things, that's not something where you just, you know, from
Right.
day one you got everything down.
Yeah.
It's you learn for the tells.
Right.
And those telltale signs, and you know how you want to talk to people and stuff.
Right.
So it comes in time.
Now, for quite a few years, you've done more than just investigate. You also have done some excellent charity work. Now, let's talk about the Ocean State Paracon, an annual event here in Rhode Island.
Yeah, that's the thing that brings a smile to my face.
Yeah.
And of course, you and Sandra from day one, from humble beginnings, where we were down in the basement hall of a church in
Church
Woonsocket.
basement,
And now that has grown to a 2-day event. And again, this year, this will be the 6th annual event. Over the last 5 years, we've raised $15,000 for local charities, which is important to us because we want to make sure that all those profits get into the hands of the local charities here in Rhode Island, and not just a percentage, because we are a very small state. So here we are in our 6th year coming up. I wanted to tell everybody, and thanks for the opportunity to do so. It's the 15th and 16th of July this year. Once again, it'll be at the Assembly Theater in Harrisville. And it's a unique kind of indoor-outdoor event. I call it Paranormal Farmers Market, where everybody is underneath a tent outside, and we have a 300-seat air-conditioned theater for our lecturers too. And it's just, you know, you got the lake, the waterfall, and everything.
Yes,
and it's
beautiful, beautiful.
wonderful
Scenery, very
We have a
picturesque.
couple of the people who are on the committee that are in our audience, Chris and John
Chris and
Krekel.
John,
And I cannot say enough about the organizing committee and the work that these people literally put in year-round for you know, to get these 2 days off the ground. So it's been wonderful.
It is all for charity too.
Yeah,
Some
100
wonderful charities.
Everyone volunteers
100%.
their time. You know,
So much of it is volunteer.
It's amazing. We really have a great group of people, you know, that are willing to do anything to make this work.
Yes.
And you know, the charities. Last year was the Coalition Against Domestic Violence, and you know, we were able to give them $5,000, and that money means everything to them. Every dollar that was raised for them went right back into the community and what they need it for. So they were very, very grateful for that, and it's nice. It's nice to do something to give back to the state and local community.
Yes.
Well, we've always felt that if we give everybody the opportunity and the venue, that they will come. And you know, this whole community gets together when they're given the opportunity, and every one of them. I mean, we wouldn't have an event if it weren't for our guests donating their time, coming from everywhere, the people, our vendors, you know, the public supporting it.
They do come from all over the country.
They do now, as you know, Italy, Hawaii.
Yeah,
like
international. It's
unbelievable. Yeah.
The word has gotten out.
You know, it's not much of a party unless everybody shows up. So we've always felt like we're given the opportunity for people to do something good, and they embrace it. And you know, I think it belongs to all of us.
Yeah.
That's the way we've always looked at it. We just kind of get it together. After that, we let you folks.
Right. Yeah. And of course, Harrisville, that whole setting is famous for, of course, now famous for The Conjuring.
Oh, yeah.
Which took place the true story took place in Harrisville, Rhode Island.
And you know that very well.
Yes, I do. It's close to my heart, that tale, because you know, we know it's true, and all of us have had involvement in it with the true case, you know. So.
Yeah. I mean, you were the first, and I was the last.
Yeah, that's neat.
You know, we're like bookends of that whole thing.
And we're of the same generation too.
We are.
Yeah.
We are.
Yeah.
We are.
And it's,
and
you
we've,
know, it's an
we've
old
gotten to
mill
know
town.
Andrea very well.
Oh,
over the
yes, yeah,
years.
Andrea Perrin, yeah,
Yeah.
good friend Andrea Perrin. She comes there every year.
Right.
Every year, and it's a beautiful, beautiful. The Assembly Theater, that's very historic, too.
Yeah.
You know,
It
we have
is.
so many people getting up speaking, and
Hopefully the weather holds out. Last year we heard about the heat.
Yes.
It's too hot.
Yeah.
Folks, if you're at home, we're doing our best.
Right.
We're putting, you know, we're trying to cast spells, whatever we can
Right.
do to make it as comfortable
but
as
the thing
possible.
is, it is
but-
right next to the dam there.
Yep.
The old mill dam, and it's so you do get somewhat of a breeze coming off. And hey, if there's a rain shower, congregate inside.
I want to get
it, yeah.
boats. I want to get like swan boats or something.
Oh, that'd be
Maybe
great.
Talk to Roger Williams Park to like,
Yeah.
Right.
hook us up or something
Excellent,
like that.
excellent. So, is there anything you want to say about this year's Ocean State Paracon? What we can expect?
More of the same. You're going to see some of the best and brightest in the local and national paranormal fields.
Yeah.
All coming together. A lot of diverse people with different perspectives on things, and I don't want to underemphasize the presentations that are given because it is a bit of a symposium as well. So if you want to learn more about this and different perspectives and, you know, come out to that. We're in the process of finalizing our speakers. We're just kind of getting that together right now, sending out invitations and so forth. And we have yet, I wish we could announce it here, but we have yet to select a charity for this year. So we're kind of open to that right now. But we want it to be somebody that, you know, with those amount of dollars, makes a big difference.
There's a lot
of
for them,
these,
yeah.
there's some great advocacy groups.
Yes.
And we'd love to touch all of them, but you know, one at a time, hopefully we'll be able to reach enough people with a cause that touches all of us. You know, maybe not yourself, but maybe a family member or somebody has been touched by some of these things, and that's very important to us.
And everybody is made to feel so welcome there.
Absolutely,
You know, you
yeah.
come in, it's like
Yeah.
everybody connects, and
That seems to be
great
the
way
thing.
of networking. And
That seems to be the thing above all I hear, is it's just so laid back and comfortable. You know, there's no long lines where you're waiting for a celebrity. You just walk up to somebody, they snap a picture, put their arm around you. So it's that kind of thing where everybody is just very, very casual and
Yeah.
very relaxed and very, well, I don't know about you guys, but I mean, there's stress on us, of
oh, sure,
course.
great deal of stress.
Up until the day it happens, the less stressful day of the year is when the gates finally open initially. If you've done the work and prepared, you just go,
Right.
have at it. That's the
Yeah.
most fun.
Yeah. Makes up for the lost sleep, right?
Exactly. Another thing I'd like to add in is something that really makes this conference unique is that it's something that you can bring the whole family to.
Yes.
Not only is there paranormal vendors and paranormal guests, but there's also vendors of all sorts. You know,
Yeah.
jewelry makers.
Oh, yeah,
We had
yeah.
stained glass last year, and then there's food trucks that come. And it's affordable, so a family can easily come to this and just enjoy a nice day.
Yeah.
And some of the artists, beautiful.
Oh,
Work's
yeah.
amazing, yeah.
Beautiful.
Stunning. It's
Yeah.
like I'm amazed by the craftsmanship that was there.
Exactly.
So, you know, very glad to have them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's been great having you here. I hope you'll both come back again very soon, and I look forward to keeping in touch with you.
Anytime at all.
Now, our studio audience, anybody who would like to come up right now and meet our fine guest, Ken DeCosta, Cody Ray DesBiens, please come up now and join the group here. And again, I can't thank you enough for being here.
Thank you, Keith. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so
it's
much.
great. And I
always good
look
to see
forward to
you.
working with you guys again. very
Absolutely.
soon.
Anytime at all.
Dale, good to see you. Yeah.
Yeah, how are you?
You know, one of my theater friends here. Oh, yeah. Thespians.
Oh, yes, you guys.
Thank you, everyone, for watching Ghost Star Near. Again, Happy New Year to you. God bless. See you again soon.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Yeah, there we go.